Welcome, Praetors, to the buddy system of the Grim Darkness in the 31st millennium. Today, I want to talk about how to use allies in Horus Heresy 3rd edition. Not just about how to take them, but also like why you would want to. And so in this video, I'm going to break down the specifics of list building, adding an allied detachment, what the base rules are, because they're a little bit scattered sometimes, and essentially, how do you take allies, and then kind of pivot to a few different reasons as to why you might want to, both narratively and in terms of gameplay mechanics. One thing I want to add up top here, if you're enjoying this content and you like seeing stuff about Horus Heresy and trying to get new players into it, please share this on whatever Facebook groups or channels you're a part of. I'm trying to grow that community here on the channel with a firmly positive voice that just is meant to help people. So it would mean a lot to me personally if you find value out of this. And so I want to start by throwing down some facts about allies in the last edition and kind of the transfer to what it is now, because it's a very different game. In the last edition, there was this ally matrix that basically dictated how all the legions felt about one another, and then kind of how it would then affect how they played on the table in terms of if those units want to be physically near each other and stuff like that. In 3rd edition, the ally chart is just gone. Anybody can ally with anybody. And the reason is that the emphasis has been put as like the Civil War drew a line through the galaxy, and it drew a line through every single legion as well. There were loyalists amongst traitor legions, and there were traitors amongst loyalist legions. Some examples off the quick top of my head: in the Siege of Chthoniya, there was loyalist Thousand Sons that basically self-immolated themselves to take out some sons of Horus. And then famously, Jakati Khan, a loyalist legion, had a revolt on his ship with some who fell traitor. My point is, if you're asking the question, can I ally X with Y? The answer is yes. Just make a cool story to explain it. Why are they fighting together? That's really all anybody will care about. As for the hard rules in this edition for taking allies, there are not many. So the first one is simply, you do not have to take allies. That's it. Secondly, you can have as many allied detachments as you want, provided that they don't make up more than 50% of your list. So you have to have a predominant legion be the main legion, but then you can ally and other stuff up to 50%. And that those various allies have to be from different legions. So I, as a Sons of Horus player, can't ally in Sons of Horus to take advantage of some weird loophole or whatever. I don't really have an example for that one, but that's the idea. And that's a lot of freedom. Almost half your army. And you can pick and choose from all over the place, which we'll get into the problems that could create, but it's open to you. It's very open. And so let's say you wanted to splash in some allies from a different legion into your army, okay? Where do we start? We start with the basic allied detachment in 3rd edition. These are not auxiliary detachment, they're just additional ones. So as long as you have a Crusade primary detachment, that's where your main legion list will start. It unlocks for you the additional ones. So that's also how you would take like the Warlord detachment or the Lord of War detachment, that kind of stuff. And with that, you get the allied detachment itself, and that is 2 command choices, one of which is prime, and 4 troop slots. None of them are prime. Now that seems very simple. 2 captains and 4 troops to go with them. But keep in mind that in 3rd edition, you do not have to completely fill out any of these detachments. So for example, we'll go through a bunch of those examples in this. If you just wanted to splash in 3 squads of Iron Warrior Tactical Marines, and you don't have a hero, it doesn't matter, because you don't have to fill the command slots. You just throw in the 3 units into the allied detachment and bring them in. So at its most base level, it could be that simple. Now on the high end, when you start getting into the mechanics of it, the allied detachment functions the same way as like the primary Crusade detachment, in that when you add a command slot, you open up auxiliary choices. So the allied detachment is now your base, and then you're adding auxiliary stuff to that. Keep in mind, they can also take things like a logistical benefit to add a few different slots into stuff. And what I'm getting at here is there's an immense amount of freedom in how you can articulate your allies coming. Many of us, myself included, learn through examples, so I've put a few together here for us. As we mentioned before, you could just take 3 troops. You could take 1 hero and an armored support detachment that he unlocks to snag 3 predators. You could have one hero, a very particular one, and a heavy support auxiliary with him, and just add some stompy robots to your army. And as I said before, you unlock the ability, if you have auxiliary detachments that allow it, to do prime slots. So this will give you some more flexibility when it comes to like list building, the benefits you can bring, like Legion specific prime advantages, that kind of thing. But the theme, if I could, is just freedom. You can do stuff that you never were able to do in the last edition. So again, if you're asking, can I do X with Y? The answer is yes. As one example, I came up with that idea of the hero and the 3 predators because I myself, as a Sons of Horus player, my list in the last edition, the Black Reaving, had limitations on the number of heavy things that I could take. So I lack a lot of anti-armor in my collection because I built the collection to that list. So now I'm like, well, I could expand them to be Sons of Horus, or I could splash in an auxiliary or an allied detachment rather of, Iron Warriors and their predators and paint something different. So it's just a fun little road to go down experiment wise. There are a few other rules things I want to clear up here just towards the end that kind of add a little bit more fuel to the fire. Just like when you're building your main list, taking a Centurion with the Officer of the Line rule allows you to take 2 auxiliary slot choices instead of 1. So that works. So if you're really trying to like fill up that 49% of the list or 50%, whatever it is, you can take him and give yourself the most amount of options. One other thing to note, and it's weird because it's not actually in the allies kind of section, it's more in the heroes when you attach them to a unit section. But if I have a Sons of Horus hero and I go to attach them to, we'll say, a Death Guard unit that I'm allying in, both of those units will take a -1 penalty to their leadership and cool because the troops are looking to this leader for leadership, and they don't know him, they don't know his ways, and so it's a penalty on them. And I think this is really just to kind of rein in some of the crazy things that you can do. There's some kind of penalty. Now there are units that skate around this. For example, the Sons of Horus have like an overseer or something like that, where they can attach a unit, but their special rule is they don't suffer that negative modifier. That's cool. But understand that generally speaking, when you make an allied attachment, try to have a unit for your heroes to duck into, even if it's just like the cheapest thing of like, I don't know, recon marines or tac squads, whatever it is, just something that they can hide in, because then your troops aren't taking a penalty just for showing up and having a hero nearby. Personally, I see this as an opportunity to do some really fun modeling. Make one set of tac marines to be like the emissary squad with your hero if you just need something to throw them in. Like, you can spice it up to make it a little bit more fun than just, I don't want my guy to have a penalty. But at this point, I want to pivot, okay? Because those are all like how allies work. And I want to now pivot into why you would take them. And there are a lot of great reasons to take allies in this edition. The first one is simply to be thematic. If you are someone who reads a lot of the Horus Heresy books, me and my buddy Dan, we've been going through them in our The Emperor Protects podcast, which is coming back, by the way. So you can go through those books, and a common theme you'll see, especially amongst the Primarch books, is stories where legions work together and that the author uses them as a foil to one another. So we can contrast perspectives if we put, world eaters with word bearers in this story. I think that was betrayer or betrayal, one of those two. You can use them to kind of highlight what makes each other unique. And that happens quite a bit in the Black Library for Horus Heresy books, is having multiple legions operate in a book, and then stories develop organically from how they work together. So it is, again, completely on theme to have allies. Numerous books do this. Again, if you're wondering, can I? The answer is simply yes. Given the freedom that comes with list building, if there's a scene in a book that you want to recreate, like you like that idea, you can. Like, you could have your Death Guard army and then ally in Salt Harvits and a few like super broken Emperor's Children that were loyalists and do the Istvan fight. Like, you can make these little scenes and vignettes that are possible because of the freedom that comes from, being able to choose auxiliary detachments and stuff like that in the allied detachment. And there's no shortage of really cool scenes of multiple legions all fighting together in these books. And then we pivot to the gameplay side. And for these, I'm not talking about competitive choices in any way, shape, or form, But the way that I personally think about allies functioning, and this is across like multiple game systems, this is everything from like War Machine and Hordes to Fantasy Battles, Age of Sigmar, all of it, is I tend to look at allies mechanically as offering one of two things. Either A, they are best supporting actor, which is they do the thing your army already wants to do and just amplify it. Or the other one, which is filling a niche that my army doesn't do, shoring up weaknesses. And so I want to talk about both of those kind of separately, because if you're kind of debating on what your next painting project is, and you're like, I want to do something fun with an allied detachment, but I'm unsure, and you still want to have a use for them on the table, that might help. So we'll start with the best supporting actor. This is essentially something that synergizes with what your list already wants to do, but isn't dominating it. You don't want your allies to kind of be the feel bad for the rest of your army, right? You want the main army to be the cool thing. And to give you a crystal clear example of this, I cannot think of a better one than the Night Lords. The Night Lords have a special rule, their Legion trait rather, is they get +1 weapon skill if they are attacking a unit that's suffering a status condition. So if you're playing Night Lords, that is the main actor, right? That's who we want to support. So the allied detachments, if they want to be a supporting actor, are finding ways to apply status conditions. Maybe splash in some Emperor's Children to get Cacophony Marines to put, I think it's Suppression is on their weapon. That sounds rad. Or Death Guard stuff because they have more access to Phosphex weapons. It's just, or, Salamanders for Flamers and Panic. And I use those examples because, they're all affiliated with very clear special rules that makes it very crystal clear what I'm trying to articulate. But I mean, in any time your army is doing something and another legion could bring something to the table to make it better, that is what I call supporting actor. Now, the other way to look at this, as I said before, is to shore up weaknesses. This way is basically you're going to play your army and be like, wow, I really suck at X. And then you're going to think about an ally that's really good at X. And so another shooting for a crystal clear example that makes perfect sense to everybody. If you are a White Scars player and you're like, I want an all bike army, we're just going to be doing this. And that sounds cool. I love that for you in your life. But you will struggle to capture objectives because that's something a bike army sucks at. They can be great and thematic at everything else, but at the end of the day, a weakness and missing link of your list is the ability to sit on an objective if you wanted to do an all bike army. So when you're looking for allies, you're going to be looking who's the best at sitting around and just not dying. And for that, I would probably say Salamanders, because they have that special rule where they can't be wounded on a 1 or a 2. It has to be a 3 up. So it's just like a little bit more survivability. You give them the Draken scale. Maybe you throw a few more defensive things on there. But yeah, if you need the buddy system to just have some nerds, you take your HQ, 3 troops choices, and just have them go sit, and all the bikes get to go forth and have fun. There you go. This is kind of the category that what I was talking about with my list, the Iron Warriors would fall into. I have a fast-moving, assault-focused list with my Sons of Horus, but what I find my collection missing is heavy, vehicles mostly, but anti-armor, being able to punch through tanks reliably at range. And so when I'm thinking about what my army's missing, I'm like, well, who's really good at shooting tanks and stuff like that? That's who I want, right? Who would Horus tap to be really good at this? Jury's still out, but thematically, I really like the idea of the Iron Warriors. So friends, that is all I have for you today. I hope it was educational. I mean, learn a little bit of something, whether how it works or why you would take it. I would love if you know of any legions that work together like peanut butter and jelly, just work, you know what I mean? Peas and carrots, whatever your local regional euphemism for working together well is. I don't know what they have in England. Fish and chips, whatever you guys got. Leave it down below. I would love to know. On this channel, I try to pin the most helpful comment to the top so that new players coming into the game can easily find resources for them. I'd like to know if you're excited for the changes to the ally system. There is a degree of, I guess, drama that's lost when there's no restrictions, but at the same time, when it comes to things like allies, I love freedom because it's the freedom to create whatever diorama set or memorable moment from the games or books rather that you would like. It is also a place where the game can get wonky, right? Of course, like if someone comes in with the attitude of a competitive mindset rather than a narrative one, this is the area of the game where things get real wiggity, because they can maximize which legion does exactly what, build exactly 49.99% of my list to be that, all that kind of stuff. For the vast overwhelming majority of us, this is just going to be, again, supporting actors or filling in weaknesses and an excuse to just have a really cool collection of models. Regardless, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming.